As always, I appreciate your attempted generosity. Meantime, Harvard has just sued the Trump administration, claiming its constitutional rights were violated after federal funds were frozen. Harvard's president saying in a statement, quote, "We filed a lawsuit to halt the funding freeze because it is unlawful and beyond the government's authority. The consequences of the government's overreach will be severe and long-lasting." Florida Congressman, newly elected Congressman Randy Fine, sits on the House Education Workforce Committee, is also a Harvard alum. He joins me now. Congressman, great to have you here in person. You are also Jewish. So what is your reaction, being a Harvard alum, being a Jewish American, to Harvard's lawsuit, basically doubling down and saying you, the Trump administration, and Donald Trump can't do this legally?
Well, I think they're wrong, and I think it's unfortunate. Look, I was a proud graduate of Harvard. It's what took a poor kid from Kentucky and allowed me to get elected to Congress. We have to respect the fact that private institutions can run themselves how they want. But those private institutions have to accept they're not entitled to federal funds. And that's the decision Harvard's going to make. Do they want to continue down the path they've gone where they don't protect Jewish students, where they embrace anti-Semitism, or do they want to work with the Trump administration and we all work forward together? I hope they choose the latter path, but yesterday's decision was not promising.
Your words mimic basically what the White House is saying. A White House spokesperson responding, quote, "The gravy train of federal assistance to institutions like Harvard is coming to an end. Taxpayer funds are a privilege, and Harvard fails to meet the basic conditions required to access that privilege." Big picture here, beyond Harvard. Do you think taxpayer dollars should be going to Harvard and other schools in the huge sums that we have grown accustomed to, and specifically these universities have grown accustomed to?
Well, that's a good question. I think we have to reevaluate how we fund higher education, because the purpose of higher education is to prepare our students for the workforce and to advance knowledge. It is not to become indoctrination factories. It is not to teach people how to hate Israel or to hate America. And unfortunately, at all too many institutions, that's what it's become. So I think we need to revisit entirely how the federal government funds these institutions, including how we do student loans. We should not be loaning kids money to get degrees in things where they're never going to be able to get a job. So I think there's an addiction to these federal funds, and we've got to look into it and fix it.
You know, if this Congress thing doesn't work out for you, you may have a career in broadcasting, because you segued perfectly to our next topic. The Education Department will resume collections now on defaulted student loans. Education Secretary Linda McMahon writing, quote, "American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. The Biden administration misled borrowers. The executive branch does not have the constitutional authority to wipe debt away, nor do the loan balances simply disappear." And Congressman, I want you to look at these numbers because they are astronomical. Student loan borrowers in the U.S. owe over $1.6 trillion, and over 5 million borrowers haven't made a payment in the last year. I'm assuming you support this move by the administration.
Absolutely. And if you look at where the problem comes from, it's typically not with people who graduated. It's the people who get loans and then they don't get their degree. That's the worst imaginable situation. Look, the ultimate solution to this is universities should have to guarantee those student loans. If a student is going to get the loan, the university should be confident they will be able to get the degree and they will be able to pay it back. Because what we have to remember is everyone takes on these loans voluntarily. They're not forced on you. So if you're going to take this opportunity, if you're going to get these loans, we have to make sure you can get a job where you can pay them back in the future. It is not the taxpayer's responsibility to pay for your student loans.
You are the MBA. I am merely a country attorney here. I don't know math. I don't know economics. But I'd imagine that if you turn the screws on the student loan situation and people can't just get loans for any old thing, I would think that college prices would come down. Your thoughts?
To some degree, and if you look at economics, where the government has pushed money into the system, that's where inflation has gone out of control, whether it's health care, whether it's higher education. But ask yourselves this, if you go get college loans to get a degree in gender studies, and you actually graduate, what are you going to do with that degree? You can go make coffee at Starbucks, but how are you going to ever create value that makes it worth it to get those loans? The problem with so many student loans is they're created to fund universities. They're not created to benefit students. And that's the problem that we've got to tackle in Congress, and I'm certainly hoping I'll be able to do that.
And why should the trucker driving across Nebraska right now, as we're doing this program, have to pay for that gender studies program? It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Congressman Randy Fine, thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming in studio. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.